What's up, influencers? Today we're talking about how to be successful on YouTube even with a small channel, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you own a business. Today's guest has made 6 figures in 6 months. Actually, he's done way more than that, but we're going to be interviewing him about how he did it. And to introduce him, I thought I'd do something different. I want to read what I'm going to write about him in the 2nd edition of YouTube Secrets. You guys can get a copy on Audible. I would recommend getting that because when we update the 2nd edition, you'll be automatically included in that. And so this is what I wrote about our guest. Levi Lassic picked up a copy of YouTube Secrets, and he started his business as a real estate agent, sharing information about Dallas, Texas housing information and neighborhood tours. He gets a few hundred to a few thousand views. Though this may seem modest in terms of impressions and might not make him super famous, it's created massive traffic, and he's been able to convert it into buyers for his real estate business, leading to, yes, a $1 million revenue business in his first year. So Levi, thank you so much for being here in studio. I'm excited to get into the conversation.
Well, thanks for having me, Benji. This is a tremendous honor. I'm super excited.
Yeah, and it's so cool because we met on Clubhouse, obviously, and we're on Clubhouse right now. Your story is something that really is close to my heart because I also was a real estate agent, and I talked about it in YouTube Secrets. I can't take credit. Gary Vaynerchuk was the one that told me to do it in 2009. So let's tell the audience what maybe is missing from that introduction. What should people know about you and your story when it comes to starting a YouTube channel for your business?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, of course, but it was one of those things where for 2021, I knew I needed to make a transition. So for the last 5 years, I had actually run a very successful financial services business. I had contracts with all the schools in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to work with the teachers on retirement planning. And each year I kept getting better and better. And 2020, even the first 3 months of 2020 started out, I was 40% year over year in the first quarter of 2020 than 2019. Well, then, of course, you know what happened. Yep. In April, all the schools shut down, and my business literally went to zero overnight. Now, I had been involved in real estate over the past 10 years. I've owned rentals, I've had fix and flips, I've had Airbnb. So I was very familiar on the transactional side of real estate, and I'd always worked with agents to help me buy those properties and mortgage teams as well. So I'd always done refinancing. So I was very familiar with real estate, and during the pandemic, I sit there and watched real estate continue to grow and grow. On top of that, some of my most successful friends are in real estate and are real estate agents. And so I have the privilege of Michael Reese is somebody I met 20 years ago, and he's just one of the top agents in the country and one of my original mentors. And, you know, he was always pushing me to you know, go ahead and make the move. But my biggest concern is that I know that real estate agents have a high rate of failure in their first 2 years. 87% of them fail within the first 2 years. And the reason being is because of lead generation. Yeah. And it's very difficult to go out there and just gain business, especially if you, with friends and family, of course, because they've seen you in some other light, right? And so now you turn around and you say, hey, I'm a real estate agent. And they're kind of like, well, I know 10 other real estate agents. So I knew going in, I sat there for about 6 months during 2020, really kind of digging into how do I make this transition? I was also 41 years old. So I was in a position where I felt like, man, am I starting over at 41 years old? And I just was really concerned. I was like, okay, I know I'm going to get into real estate, and got my license. But I was just really concerned about starting out. I was like, I do not want to be that 87% that fails in the first year. And I knew that all came down to one thing, which is marketing. And at the same time, I wanted to attract business. So in my financial services business, my partner was responsible for the marketing. But what we did is we did all of that marketing up front. And I had an appointment with somebody who was ready and willing and able to talk to me. They already knew whenever I was going to meet with them, we were going to talk about retirement planning, about their financial future. So I would literally just walk in there, and it was kind of a done deal because 80% of the selling was done up front. So I was like, how do I duplicate that in real estate, and has that really ever been done before? Because, you know, you look at all the traditional methods and it's kind of like cold call, door knock, spend money on postcards. And if you price postcards, they're extremely expensive.
For sure.
And plus you've got to send them out all the time. Magazines ad, you know, you get the magazine delivered to your house and there's 500 agents in there. And it's like, how are you going to compete with that?
Old school.
Yeah. So I knew, I was like, okay, it's going to literally come down to marketing. And I didn't want to bug my family and friends either on that. So I was looking for a way. I was like, how do I do this? How do I attract business? And so I think that's a really big difference is I was patient, which, you know, Gary Vee talks a lot about patience, right? And so I was like, let me be patient and let me research the best ways to attract business. Well, I knew I was going to do that through social media, of course, but everybody was kind of saying the same things. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Now, I do believe TikTok, it has some similarities to YouTube now in attraction-based business, but at the same time, it just didn't sit right with me. I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to do TikTok. Yeah. And then Facebook and Instagram look like very labor intensive as far as you have to do things daily, multiple times a day. You know, you have to stay current, stories disappear. And I just thought also, when people are looking for real estate, is the first thing they think to do is to go to Facebook or Instagram to research real estate? So, but I bought Facebook and real estate books. So that's one of my keys to success, what I did in my financial business. And before, I used to be in the pharmaceutical industry whenever I got out of the military. And the one thing I've always done is I've always looked at who's at the top, what are they doing? How do I model that? And then how do I adjust it to fit my personality and my style? And then is there a way I could actually beat them in a good way, you know? So that has always served me well. It got me to the top in the pharmaceutical industry. It got me to the top in financial services. And so I was like, okay, how do I do this in real estate? But there wasn't really examples in Facebook or Instagram marketing that I was really interested, that really piqued my interest. But I bought the books anyways. Nothing resonated. Then I started buying YouTube books, and I just looked at there wasn't a lot of options out there. Yours, this was even before Daryl Eve's book came out. Your book was there. There's a couple others which are really not that great. But when your book, and I don't know, it's like chapter 7 or something in there, you have one paragraph on there, which was, you know, you talked about answering questions on YouTube. And so that just kind of really sparked it. It was kind of like, okay, you know what, there might be something there. And I never really thought about YouTube in that perspective. So then that sent me down one rabbit hole after another. And I get into YouTube, I buy some more books. There's actually a couple of real estate books out there in conjunction with YouTube. They're more like an overview. There's not really a lot of in-depth information in there, but I just kept looking and I kept looking. I go down one rabbit hole after another. Then I start coming across some real estate channels and I start to see what I start to do. Plus, with the brokerage I'm with, I started to notice some of the agents kind of moving towards the top in the business. I started noticing one thing. They all had YouTube channels. And, you know, I spoke with one guy, this guy named Jesse, and, you know, he kind of told me what they were doing, and that kind of sparked my interest. And then I started finding other influencers. And so it all became a combination. So at that standpoint, I was like, okay, I think YouTube is the answer. And then I dug in. I just dug in and I researched the platform for about 2 months. And I think that's what's really key. And this is what I've been saying recently is that if you treat YouTube like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. And I really think that plays into any social platform. These platforms are very powerful if you understand the back end of it. You understand the producer side of it versus the consumer side of it. Because there are analytics, there are ways that you can understand that. So I started digging into YouTube, the back end, the SEO, the analytics, and it's very complicated. But I also believe that you can fast track learning almost any subject in this day and age. You know, you've mentioned before that, you know, people think it's too late to get on YouTube, but you say it's actually the best time because there's more information out there than you can handle.
More eyeballs too.
Absolutely. And so the information is there. You just have to dig in and research it. And I spent about 2 months reading books, and I've read your book now probably 5 times. And so
I know for sure because he's quoting stories that's in the book. I've never had somebody do that in reference. Like, oh, I remember that story. I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Well, and Chris, who picked me up from the from my
he's
hotel,
in the book.
Yeah, he mentioned, I was like, how long you been with Benji? And he goes, 15 years. And I go, are you the guy that mowed Benji's lawn? And he goes, yeah, that is me. So, you know, I remember those stories. You know, that's the thing. Facts tell, stories sell.
Yeah.
And so that also kind of came into YouTube, right? Storytelling. those types of situations. So I dug in for about 2 months. I don't do anything else. I feel like you can really hyper learn a subject.
Yeah.
I've actually heard Jay Shetty talk about this too, where if he wants to deep dive into something, he will read a minimum of 5 books on that subject. And so I just grabbed all the information I could on YouTube, watch YouTube videos. I watch all these real estate channels, and there's good ones out there and there's bad ones out there, but you can always learn something from everybody. And so that's what really happened right there is after about 2 months, I was like, okay, I think I've got a really good concept and understanding of what I want to do. And then it was just, okay, let's start filming. And it was filming first. I kind of put together a business plan, which again, if you treat it like a business, it will pay you like a business. So I put together a business plan to, here's the videos we want to shoot. And let's shoot some first. Let's build out, 2, 3, 4 weeks of videos, because I also understood the trap to where if you publish 1 or 2 videos, number one, nobody's going to watch those videos, right? And I think that's where people get discouraged, because they're expecting big things to happen in the beginning. It doesn't. And then on top of that, life happens. Real estate happens, health happens, and then you get stuck, or you don't film for another week or 2, and now you've got that gap. So I understood in the beginning too that consistency was key on YouTube as well. Kind of like you mentioned in your book, if you got 52 videos, you better publish 1 a week for 52 weeks instead of 52 in a row for 52 days, right?
And before we get into some of the best practices, let's talk about not the first 52 weeks, but the first, 25 weeks, right? The first 6 months. I want to reiterate that you have a fairly small channel, and this is something that I don't usually do because most people are flexing how many subscribers or how many views. In fact, this is what makes you really unique. Less than 5,000 subscribers on your YouTube channel, right? There's definitely no like silver play button for that. A few hundred to maybe a few thousand views per upload. But you are capitalizing on the principle of it's not how many views, it's what kind of views. And so tell us what you've been able to accomplish in that first 6 months as a business owner, right? As a real estate agent, because I think that's what blows people's minds about what you're accomplishing, because most people assume you've got to have 1 million subscribers, you've got to have, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands views, yet you're here with these kind of metrics and you're killing it. So what have you been able to do in your business as a result of your YouTube channel?
Well, and so that's the funny thing is that the subscribers, it was never a concern. That was not the goal from the beginning. The only goal, and you have to be clear on your goals, right? You speak about clarity as well in your book. You have to be clear, and the only goal was, can we make the phone ring? That was it. So can we produce content that's going to get the phone to ring? I don't care about views or subscribers. Now, of course, views lead to that, so that is important, but we got the phone to ring within about 30 days. And I think I only had about 50 subscribers in 30 days, which is still pretty good, I know some, and so that kind of helped me keep the motivation going when you get that first call. Well, within 90 days, we got the first deal under contract. And I also just want to mention that I do have a partner, Travis Plum, that has really been instrumental in this. I couldn't have done this without him, because once that first deal came under contract at 90 days, it is completely snowballed from at that standpoint. And now since March 1st, since March 1st, Benji, we have done 50 transactions.
That's crazy.
50 transactions. That's totaled. We've broken over 25 million in production.
Wow.
And if you want to do the math on that, the average real estate commission is about 3%. So do 3% of 25 million. And that's what we've generated in commissions in the last 6 months. Now, I don't say that to brag or to impress anybody, but to impress on somebody that the possibilities on there. Chris, I love Chris, Fly Ride. He called me a super affiliate for real estate.
Yeah, totally.
And that's really, I think, I'm a YouTuber that actually has a real estate license, because that's what Travis, my partner, has allowed me to do, because he's really handled a majority of the real estate transactions, actually really mostly all of them. I still communicate with the clients. I was answering all the calls in the beginning. I spoke with every single person, and then Travis would go out, show them homes, close the deals, and he's one of the best negotiators and real estate closers I've seen in this whole business. And he came from the car business, so that really helped him as well. And so from there, I've been able to focus on the back end, the business side of it, the systems, and I've documented everything. Something else I learned from Gary Vee, where I always knew document from the beginning. Also because of my relationship with like Michael Reese and Woods Davis and these other top real estate agents that had systems in place. You know, they had already shown me good systems to put into place to be able to track the leads properly, to be able to capture it. Like all of our phone calls are recorded. That's allowed me to put together videos of like sizzle reels of all the phone calls. And I play them. I've been able to speak at some conferences recently, do some trainings through Clubhouse. And I've played these videos to where people call in. This is the beautiful thing about YouTube is if anybody's familiar with the sales cycle or the sales funnel or a sales process, right? People have to find you. They have to get familiar with you. They have to develop a relationship with you before they're going to do business with you. I believe YouTube does all of that, but the client takes himself through that whole process, right? They find your videos, they consume your content, they develop a relationship with you, and then if you have the right calls to action in place, they will call you when they're ready to do business. And so there is zero selling on our part. We don't have any scripts because when people call us, they're actually surprised we answer the phone. They're excited to talk to us. And so the relationship is already there. We don't have to sell anybody on doing business.
And to give some context here, right, for people like, oh my gosh, this is like mind blowing. I need to start a channel right now. You started in 2020.
December 5th.
December 5th. I was going to say November, but December 5th, okay? We're talking like 10 months ago, basically. Obviously, we're talking about how you made 6 figures in the first 6 months. Neutrally, let's see if you can do math faster than me. 3% of 25 million, right? I think it's definitely over $1 million. Whatever, right?
It's right. Oh, it's actually 750.
Oh, 700. Okay, cool. So maybe I'm not that good, right? But still, that's way more than $100,000, right? Yeah. The title of this interview was making 6 figures in 6 months, right? I think that most people can kind of wrap their brain around this, but the reason I want to bring this up and let you kind of flex these pretty crazy numbers is the fact that this has happened in less than 12 months. Absolutely. And so I think there's a few things that you definitely can share and you're implementing that makes your success unique for you, because not only was it so fast, it's so massive. One of them being you didn't focus on every platform, right?
Nope.
Even like if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk, you know, even the first copy of YouTube Secrets, we said like, hey, you know, be on Facebook, be on social media, make sure you kind of like covering all your bases, plant some seeds, be dripping and, you know, putting out content consistently. You went 100% on YouTube. Why did you make that decision, and how has it helped you in your momentum on this platform?
Yeah, so we focused 100% on YouTube. It was in my research in the beginning, those 2 months. So for anybody that's kind of looking at the timeline, there's also 3 months of work before publishing that first video December 5th, right? 2 months of research, a month of filming, then published the first video December 5th. Then it took 90 days to get the first deal under contract. So technically that's 6 months worth of work. Now, I would ask you this: are you willing to put in 6 months of work without any pay? If you know, and that's the only thing I had to hang on to was belief. But in my research in the beginning, you know, there's Jackson is he talks a lot about back-end analytics on YouTube, and that's one of the things that I learned from him was that you don't want to share everything. That's actually probably the only piece of your book I would disagree with.
Yeah.
Is that because, and here's what I truly believe. I believe when somebody's on TikTok, Instagram, or Facebook, they're ready to consume that platform. Yeah. It's very hard to convert somebody from one platform to another. You think about it, Facebook, Instagram. I tell you what I do on there. I kill time. I'm in line for food. I'm waiting to board a plane. What am I doing? I'm going to kill time because I know I can consume. I can do something mindless, so to speak, for a short period of time. But people, when they go to YouTube, they are ready to learn, research, or be entertained. 55%, if you look at our back-end analytics, 55% of our traffic comes from desktop, mobile, and TV, which tells me people are sitting down whenever they're watching our channel. 80% of the traffic on the internet is mobile, but 55% of our traffic is from when somebody's sitting down. Now think about 25% of that is on the TV, which means people are sitting on their couch watching us on their TV. That is powerful. That is like being Friends, on the sitcom Friends. And that's the thing, is that people sit down every Thursday evening, right, for must-see TV, and they're ready to consume that content. And that's why people identify. That's why they have 6 different friends, because there's 6 different personalities, and everybody relates to one of those characters, right? And so that's really the key aspect. And so I've never shared anything on Facebook, Instagram, never even tried those platforms to generate business, because I believe what happens is somebody's on those platforms. If you share it, number one, Facebook and Instagram, they don't like that anyways, because you're sharing something from YouTube. Number two, if somebody clicks on it, they're going to be like, oh, this is a 25-minute video. I'm not in the mood, or I don't have the time to consume that. They're going to jump back off and go to Facebook. To me, my understanding is that that kind of messes everything up, and we want people to consume content. Now, our analytics tell us people consume 2.1 of our videos. Our average viewer watches 2.1 videos. Our average video is over 15 minutes, which means they're consuming over 30 minutes of content on average. And so they say if you can get somebody to consume 6 minutes of content, you have a customer. Well, to do that on Facebook or Instagram in 30 seconds or 1 minute increments, you've got to hit them over and over and over and over again. Plus, you got to pay for that, because you post anything on Facebook or Instagram, 1% or 2% of your following even gets it. Yeah. You have to pay to push that. YouTube's the only platform that wants people, they recommend your content. They want to find your audience, right?
Yeah, I think what you said is what I've been thinking, and actually influenced the title of our book, User Behavior, the difference between how they use these other platforms and how they use YouTube. I used to say that YouTube was the new TV, but the difference is, back in the day, we had these remote controls, kids, okay? We use this to change a channel or whatever on TV. But with YouTube, and you just mentioned people are watching on their televisions, you're typing things in. It's very active. Like, you're searching for something. This isn't new for even like Netflix or on-demand TV, but YouTube is different because you really want to learn something very specific, and there's probably a tutorial or some informative video on there. And so when we first started Video Influencers, we thought we were going to title our book Video Influencers, but it was very clear to us that YouTube was the king, like by far, like light years ahead of everybody else. And I'd say like we were probably early to the game to think about this. And this is why I love hearing your perspective and what influenced your decision to just go all in on YouTube, because people are get FOMO because they're not on Instagram, or everyone's saying that, everyone's been telling me, oh, you need to get on TikTok, right? I'm not trying to downplay the significance of it. I just know you can have massive success on YouTube more than anywhere else because of this idea that it's search-based. There's this archive library of videos. You can rank a video to become evergreen and get searches and searches and searches. So like when I go to your channel, there's probably videos you put up last year in January, this summer, that not only are getting you views right now, but probably will get you views next year. Anything else you want to add in terms of the significance of YouTube as a platform compared to other platforms?
Well, the fact that it is search-based. I mean, if you search any suburb in Dallas, I can almost guarantee you that we will own 3 or 4 of the top 5 of those videos. We rank, and that's the other thing, is because I really understood, and I feel like I've learned some more additional tricks about SEO on the back end to really get everything to rank. And that's the thing, is that I've got, if you search Forney, Texas, or Irving, Texas, or Plano, Texas, or South Lake, Texas, it doesn't matter. We're going to be up there. They say that people make their decisions based on the first 5 videos that show up in search on YouTube, and we literally will own at least 3 of them in almost every suburb. So we automatically look like the authority. The other thing is that I have this little saying that your audience is not your audience until they're your audience. See, I'm so niched in to people that are searching for Dallas, Texas. But the thing is somebody in Seattle, Washington may never have an interest in Dallas real estate until they get a job promotion, a job transfer. They're tired of lockdowns or high taxes or whatever the situation may be, or they got approved to work remotely. Now they're like, oh, Dallas. Well, I've never been there, or I've only been there once, and that was 5 years ago. Let me go see what that looks like. And they go to YouTube and they type that in, and then we show up. Guess what? I don't have any competition because that person in Seattle or LA or New York, doesn't know a real estate agent in Texas or Dallas, Texas, right? So I don't have to compete. I don't have to be the person in the neighborhood magazine with 500 other real estate agents because I'm not going after that business. I want the people that don't know anything about Dallas, and then they find us, and then they develop the relationship with us and then they find, and so that's the power of YouTube. And so I believe search is a big deal with that. The thing about, I know recommendations and browse is really a big driver, but at the same time, if I get recommended to somebody, they've already been searching that content as well. And so I don't know if I'm capturing them at the very beginning of their journey, but at the same time, search is an evergreen strategy as well, because there's always going to be somebody every day that's getting a job transfer or a job promotion. Plus now with Dallas being one of the, it's the #4 job market in the country, and corporations are moving there now. So you're talking about hundreds of people coming at a time. And so because we're ranked in search, people are always going to be searching for that content. So that's an evergreen strategy.
Another thing that's interesting about your channel is there's definitely competitors in Dallas that are real estate agents putting out YouTube video. The difference with you is you're very purposeful and you're serving a specific kind of search, right? I always thought this when I had a real estate channel. I thought, people care about what schools are in this area. What are the best schools in this city? What are some of the information and demographics of different areas, or, like where are families living? Where are the parks? Literally, it's like endless. And even though Dallas obviously is a popular place for people to move to, for real estate agents, this can be done across the country, across the world. And this is what makes me excited for YouTube and why I feel like it's going to be relevant for another 10 years, which is kind of bold because we've seen social media platforms come and go, right? There was once when Facebook was all there was, and now there's so much. But YouTube is different because I don't think we've even tapped into the full potential, right? Everybody understands there's the Logan Pauls, right? These celebrities, there's these viral videos, the obvious searches like for food or for cars or for, technology or marketing. But what about all these other searches that people are making and they're getting whatever content and they're just okay with it, right? Because that's all there is. When you can get very specific, and you have a business model behind that, not only do you provide like a service or some kind of value for that person that no one else is doing, but you can convert that into business. And so that's actually where I want to go with my next question is, do you feel like YouTube is underrated or overrated when it comes to being utilized for entrepreneurs and business owners, and why?
Oh, completely underrated. And I tell you, with what we've done is any business owner can do, and I think you should absolutely do it no matter what type of business owner you are, which is I built everything off of search first. Now because I understand my audience, I can make videos that I know are gonna resonate with them or what they're looking for. I actually made an hour-long video, which is unheard of, right? Because everyone says there's zero attention span these days. It's been one of my most successful videos, even though it's an hour. But I felt like they wanted the information, and it was correct. So the thing is that businesses, I was actually on a podcast with a software company the other day, and it's called the iBuyer Experiment, and I said the same thing for them. If you have a software company, Google and YouTube tells you what people are searching for. What questions do they want answered? And if you build it around search first, people will find you a lot easier in the beginning than they will if you just try to make content that you want to make. I've never made a piece of content I wanted to make in the first 100 videos. It wasn't until after 100 videos or so that I decided I really felt like I understood my audience and I could make content for them without having to search everything first. I kind of equate that to if you're in the desert and you've got 50 gallons of water, think of YouTube as the desert. You've got 50 gallons of water and there's people all over the desert, but you're just sitting in one place. Nobody knows where you are. Nobody knows how to find you. They want the water, but they don't know how to find you. Now, if you had a GPS and you're like, man, there's 50 people over that hill under that palm tree, and you take 50 gallons of water over there, they will drink, and they will drink a lot. And so that's what I believe search is so powerful in YouTube in the beginning, because you will attract people a lot faster by answering the questions that people are already searching for those. And so then you can adapt your content to more of what you want to make or what you feel will serve your audience.
I think what you tapped into is the significance of building a library. Even at the beginning, it might not get a lot of views, but you know it's going to serve somebody. You just need that one video. You need that one kind of breakout hit. And so in your case, it's not like necessarily getting you millions of views, but again, it's getting you the right views. And it's interesting, even though your average views per viewer is 2, I'm sure the ones that are really interested that become buyers of yours are probably watching 10, right? They're like, and so if you don't have that library for them to watch, they won't have 10 to watch. In fact, they might watch 2 of yours and then go watch 8 of somebody else's. So have those videos out there. Let's actually break it down for some entrepreneurs, right? Okay. One thing that's interesting about you is you're super late to the YouTube game, right? We're talking like a decade afterwards, but obviously you've had...
And I'm old. You know?
No, man. You've had significant success in a short amount of time, but it's a business that has been using the platform. It's possible really for any business. Yep. What would be some of your, like, let's actually bring it back to your process. When you're thinking of, okay, whether you're going to start a channel or these days, just like what's your next video, what is your process for figuring out the video ideas and then going into the title and thumbnail?
Okay, so I would equate really the success to one thing, just to kind of circle back on that, and that is massive action. So being late to the YouTube game, being 41 years old, and not a 20-year-old YouTuber, right? It is just massive action. I knew the competition level in Dallas. Think about it. Dallas, there's millions and millions of videos about Dallas. There's vloggers, bloggers, travel guides, lifestyle. Everything, there was 10 other real estate agents. And actually, you think about 10 real estate agents on YouTube in Dallas, Texas, that is extremely low. That is not competition at all whatsoever. Zero. That is really zero competition. But what I noticed about them is they were putting out 1 video per week. And so my goal in the beginning, which I know not everybody can do this, but I was going to do 3 videos a week because I'm like, I'm going to overtake by volume. That's how I'm going to gain traction. And I committed to that 3 videos per week. Now I've scaled down to about 2 because we're so busy with the business now that it is a little bit challenging, but still, I'm scheduled out 3 weeks on my content at all times. So it doesn't matter if I get COVID. It doesn't matter if I travel to Seattle. It doesn't matter if I go on vacation or go to a 5-day conference. I'm not concerned about there's videos publishing actually last night while I'm here in Seattle and I'm walking around and getting coffee and going to dinner. That's the beautiful thing. I have one publishing on Sunday. It's already scheduled out. But the thing is that now, it's just now I have a feel for what my audience is looking for. Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. I get inspiration from other, I watch Nick Nimmin and Dee Nimmin and Roberto Blake and, that's the thing. I watch other creators, even like I said, like Chris of Flyride. I would have never watched an automotive channel or automotive lighting, but now I watch it from a different perspective as a creator. Daryl Eves talks about Netflix having thumbnails. I never thought of Netflix when you're scrolling through Netflix as those are thumbnails. So now I look at those as thumbnails, right? Billboards are actually thumbnails. And so now you start observing the world through a different way. And we went to eat one day, Travis and I told Travis, I was like, the world is a frame. I'm looking at everything through an iPhone frame. I'm like, if we're going to sit in this restaurant, what's a good backdrop? What do you want behind you? The depth, so now you're looking at everything through a creator or through a producer standpoint than a consumer standpoint. And so I'm gathering ideas all the time from everything. Billboards, Netflix, all of that is thumbnail ideas, right? And so, but also I got to think about what's going to serve the audience the best. Yeah. And so now Christina Smallhorn, actually, she got on the phone with me the other day for like 2 hours, and all of that's possible through Clubhouse has changed my life and my business in so many ways because I've been able to not just meet you and develop a relationship, but people like Christina Smallhorn, so many others. I met Jaime.
Powerful. Yeah,
Jaime's a real estate agent in Dallas. He's got over 20,000 subscribers, and still we're doing the amount of business we're doing, and he's got an audience 10 times the size of ours, So there's opportunity, but now we're friends, right? And so, and I've met him but Christina got on the phone with me for 2 hours and gave me a thumbnail clinic, you know. I was like, and she's been through Daryl Leave's program and everything. So just because she was able, you know, because she's just that type of person, Professor Nez helped me develop my banner in the beginning.
Oh, that's awesome.
That map of United States where people are driving in from California, New York, and Chicago, that was an idea drummed up on Clubhouse with Professor Nez. And he was one of the first people when I first went into Clubhouse and found a YouTube room.
Yeah.
He was running it, and, you know, so I developed, and now I'm going to meet up with him in September. I'm going to Vid Summit, and we're going to meet up and grab a cup of coffee, you know, because we're going to be in his backyard. And so all these relationships stem from that. So now I'm constantly learning from everybody all the time. And so the titles are really, you know, I'm doing this series. You actually complimented it the other day, is what does 400,000 get you in Frisco, Texas?
So smart.
And those videos are taking off like wildfire right now. And guess what I did? I'm doing, what does 500,000 get you? What does 600,000?
So smart.
I'm up to 1 million. I've already got all that filmed out. So now I'm just rinse and repeat. When you find something that hits, then rinse and repeat until it doesn't, right? And just keep going.
I want to give the Cliff Notes version of what your answer just was. You have to do it all, right? You talked about research. You talked about learning off of YouTube, networking, and learning from people in the industry, whether in your market or outside of your market. Looking at other types of content to get fresh ideas. I think the most important thing, and it has to do with the research, but I think also experience, is understand what the viewers are looking for. And this is what's interesting about you. I don't know how long you lived in Dallas, Texas, but even though you haven't been a real estate agent very long, you understood what somebody might be looking for if they moved to Dallas, Texas. And I would argue, and I'm looking up your video count, 135 videos later, and however many comments that has yielded, you probably learned even more. And so, hard work is hard work. There's no replacement. I was maybe looking for like, hey, what was the shortcut that other people can learn? But you learn the shortcuts from doing all the work, and every business is going to be different. Let's actually bring it back to something a little bit more, I'd say, practical for the beginner. You mentioned you have to be ready to put out videos without making a lot of money, right? Potentially any money. Also, maybe not getting a lot of views. What made you believe that YouTube was going to work? Like those first, so if I'm doing the math, those first 4 months before you got one lead, right? And I'm sure during those 4 months, you didn't get massive views, maybe not even a few hundred to 1,000 yet, right? Maybe there was a lot less. What kept you going? What was the belief that you had that this was something you can commit to and it would lead to success?
The reality is I had no other option.
Okay.
My back was up against the wall. I had, last year, like I said, when my financial services business went to zero overnight, and then I played around for 6 months. I spent the most money I've ever spent. I actually invested into Amazon stores, over 6 figures. I bought more courses than I've ever bought in my life, which got me pretty much nowhere, but everything triggered an idea, right? Everything just kind of led me down one path after another. So it got to the point to where it was like, okay, I know I'm moving into residential real estate. But it was just one of those things where I saw some other YouTubers on there. I saw some of the real estate channels, and there wasn't really a lot. But the concept was there, and I was like, I'm just going to go all in. And it was complete 100% all in. Now, 30 days after the first video came out, the funny thing is my first video ever published still has like 400 views. I mean, it's like gone nowhere, absolutely nowhere, And we got videos with over 20,000 views now. But the first call we got was a Zoom call, because we give people an option to call, text, email, or schedule a Zoom. The reason we do that is because everyone has different communication styles. Yeah. And so we want to always have the path of least resistance. That's another thing another thing I would disagree on your book is like you talk about linking social medias on the YouTube channel. I've never linked anything on there because YouTube's #1 goal is time on platform.
Totally.
So the only reason we ever want to pull somebody from YouTube is if they call us. Yeah. And so we've converted them at that point. So it was one of those things where the very first Zoom call we got was with a buyer with $1 million budget.
Okay.
And we had 50 subscribers. And
mind blown,
yes,
right?
and the only thing he said was, he said, I appreciate the content you're putting out.
Yeah.
He goes, it's really smart. And that was just enough. The thing is that in this whole time frame too, not a single person has asked, how long have I been in real estate? What brokerage am I with? What's my production levels? And or really, what are the stats and data of the real estate market? They really just want to know, what's it like to eat, sleep, work, live, and play, the good and the bad of living in Dallas, Texas. And that I can do because I've been in Dallas for on and off for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, the thing is that I was not going to quit, and I just committed. And I'm like, I just had this gut instinct that it would work one way or another. And then getting the first deal under contract, of course, solidified that as well. Yeah. But I just believe if you stay consistent with it, I don't care how many agents are in your area, what you do, how terrible you think you are. If you think you got a face for radio, it doesn't matter. I said this, we're at dinner the other night with a client, Travis and I, and Travis said this to me. He goes, I never thought of it that way, but I was telling the client, because he's like, Levi, we watch every single one of your videos. He's like, every single one of your videos, we watch them. And I said, well, the cool thing about it is everybody that we've done business with is like us. Yeah. You know, and we're attracting people that are like us. And that's what will happen is, I don't care if you have a face for radio. I don't care if you have a high-pitched voice, a low-pitched voice, you talk fast, you talk slow. What you're going to realize is you will start to attract people that are like you, and they want to do business with you. Yes. And there's 500 people per day moving to Dallas, Fort Worth. I don't need all 500 per day. Yeah. I need one per week. One per week would be 52 transactions a year. Would that change your, if you got one person every other week and only did 26 transactions from YouTube, would that change your business? So whether you want to make it your full-time lead source, or you want it to be part-time, if you're going to, if you have more than 1 year left in your real estate career, you should be on YouTube. If you have 1 year left in your business, like we talked about earlier, this is for business owners too. You start putting out that content. It's what I call service-based content versus selfish-based content. You know, selfish-based content, and that's where I think a lot of real estate agents make mistakes, is they post about their open house or their listing. And if your listing is under $1 million, it's not going to get any views at all whatsoever. And so, and the thing is by the time somebody finds that, it's not evergreen either. By somebody finds your open house video or your listing video that's $300,000 on, 123 Main Street, it's irrelevant, and plus nobody really cares about that. Like on the videos that I do, I never go inside homes. I just show the outside and I show the neighborhood. And I think that's what people really love is they're like, I want to see the neighborhood. You can look at the inside of homes on Zillow and Realtor and Redfin all day long. So people know what the inside of a $300,000 home looks like, but they don't know, is that neighborhood going to be safe for my family? Is it got a school district? Are there boats and broken down cars parked everywhere? Because a lot of times when I'm in these neighborhoods, then I drive the neighborhood and take footage of the whole neighborhood and include that as well. And people absolutely love that.
My Lord, I feel like you're giving a master class for real estate agents and how to start a YouTube channel. We're about at the end of the interview. We're going to get into Q&A. I just first off wanted to say thank you. I think that your enthusiasm is one of the reasons people love your videos and people are just like collected around you. Obviously, that's how you and I met. I always love having conversations with you on Clubhouse. It's kind of surreal to have you here in person. We've been talking for almost a year now. But I guess the reason I bring up all that is because that is really important, to have that belief in yourself, number one, but a belief in the process. And so what's interesting about YouTube Secrets, Sean and I, we believe that the principles are way more important than the tactics, because the tactics, the algorithm, the tools, they're always going to be changing. But the principles, and I love that you're literally quoting principles. There's the 7 C's, right? And I just wanted to also add one more note about the social media. In the second edition, we changed that whole chapter because we also believe the power of YouTube is that you don't have to use any other platform. Right. You don't have to be on social media. If you commit like you did you can have massive success. So that was a huge plug for the book, YouTube Secrets. I highly recommend getting.
I brought my copy.
Yeah.
Oh, I want a signed copy.
Oh, for sure. And we'll get Sean a signed too. Get YouTube Secrets on Audible. I highly recommend it because number one, you know, we're all busy people, but also when we update the second edition, I believe you're just going to get freshly updated the second edition. The first edition will work. Obviously, there's some disagreements with how, and this is why we wrote the second edition. But I'll tell you this. We did not change the principles. The principles, and this is why I guess for me, to be selfish, I'm proud that the principles have stood the test of time because that can be applied to any social media platform. I guess before we get into Q&A, and you guys, if you are watching the replay, the Q&A exclusive for members only. So join the members only club here on Video Influencers. Hit that like button if you're getting a lot of value. I know that I'm excited about YouTube, and subscribe to Video Influencers. But before I let you go into the Q&A round, what's your last words of wisdom? What would you want to tell to that person that maybe does have their back against the wall, no options, or the person that's maybe been struggling on this platform, not gaining a lot of traction in terms of like, you know, sticking with it and not quitting?
Yeah, so I love what Sean Cannell says, which is just press record, right? But I do believe there's a little bit more than that. And I'm going to go back to, if you treat YouTube like a hobby, it'll pay you like a hobby. If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. So the information is out there. I would buy any YouTube book I could buy, especially YouTube Secrets. YouTube Formula, I think, are the two best books out there. I would watch YouTube videos. I'd watch other creators in your space. I'd watch other creators outside of your space. There's channels, like I said, D. Nimmin, Nick Nimmin, Roberto Blake, people that talk about YouTube in general. There's this one young lady called Annie Dubay or something. Yeah. I think she's 18, but I learn stuff from her channel all the time. Dude. So you can learn from anybody, but put together a plan. It's more than just press record, I believe. You have to press record, of course, but I think where people struggle is they don't have clarity. Like one of the C's, right? They don't have clarity on what to do, and you're going to fast track if you put together a plan first, not analysis paralysis. Don't sit there and get, in this loop of never pressing record, but hyper focus. Understand a plan, put it, and you have to take massive action at that point, and then just stay consistent. You have to develop a schedule that you will stick to. People ask me, how many videos are you doing? I'm like, well, how many videos will you commit to? Yeah. Can you do one per week, which I think is the absolute minimum? You want to do one per week, but if you can do 2 or 3, then your growth curve is gonna go much faster, right? And so you have to do what works for you ultimately. I can give you lots of tips and guidelines. You can, the books can, but you have to do what you can commit to and what you can really focus on.
Yeah, the plan, I think, is massive. And obviously, that's part of the clarity. I've never even thought of literally just write out what your goals are on a piece of paper, right? Who you're going to reach out to, what are the videos they care about, and then what are you going to do to execute on creating those videos. If you do that, you will have more success than 90% of people on YouTube who just go all over the place and trying to be on Instagram and be a TikToker, all that kind of stuff. It is totally possible. Levi is a great example. We'll put all the links down below to his channel if you're looking to move to Dallas, Texas.
Can we just ask him to search Dallas?
Oh, yeah.
I actually don't want, the thing is I never share a direct link because I want everybody to find the channel search-based.
There you go. You're like the ultimate channel because you really don't care about the views. You care about the viewer. Right. And if you do that, you will win on YouTube. So thank you guys so much for checking in. Remember, subscribe to Video Influencers for more interviews just like this with people crushing it on this platform.